all good things must come to an end, and there comes a time where this transcends pretty much everything. Goku and Vegeta have been at odds with the God Realm recently in the absolute worst of times. As Moro looks more and more powerful by the chapter, even Ultra Instinct hasn't been enough to stop him. For quite some time now, it's super easy for us to have looked at Beerus and Whis as friends of the Z-Fighters, which I feel is super easy to say after a lot of their past actions. But after the most recent chapter of Dragon Ball Super, a clear line has been drawn between the God Realm and everyone else. After years of feeling like Beerus and Whis were on our side, a lot of the community seems to feel a sense of betrayal from the words Whis spoke, although this is the natural order of things and any further biased interference could devastate the entire system of the universe. The only slight glimmer of hope for help from the God Realm seems to be the very last words Whis spoke before disregarding the events taking place on Earth. In any case involving the mortal realm of said universe, the only ones with the authority to step in outside of Zeno and the Grand Priest are the Gods of Destruction and the Supreme Kais. This leads to the next question of just how much interference even from these beings will be tolerated by the higher-ups of the multiverse. At what point will toleration reach absolute zero with the Omni King and Grand Priest alike, as the mortals seem to get bolder and bolder in their interactions with the gods to the point of becoming overly comfortable to some? A lesson is being taught before our very eyes as possibly the only mortal we can imagine to oppose the absolute highest position in the multiverse. Frieza looks to make a dangerous attempt on the gods in this story called Dragon Ball Super, the Frieza Trick. Taking place during an unknown time period after Dragon Ball Super's conception, begins in the palace of the Omni King, followed by an extremely unexpected meeting. The powers that be have never been challenged like they will be today, but the end result may be just as devastating, as the only ones that can stop this are the very beings that, with their pattern of events, led to something like this being possible in the first place. If you guys want to check out this super awesome fan manga for yourselves, and I suggest you do because there are some extremely cool ideas implemented in this one, be sure to check out the description box for a link to the original site. Don't forget to have that notification bell clicked to never miss an upload, and also if you are enjoying the Dragon Ball content on the channel, consider leaving a like on this video as well. Once again, I want to thank you guys for the surge of love and support we've been getting, especially since hitting 300k. Also be sure to follow on both Twitch and Twitter to keep up with me and all anime related content. But without further ado, the Palace of the Omni King is the last place I'd ever expect to see the likes of Frieza, but in Dragon Ball, it seems like literally anything is possible now. The business Frieza seems to have here is of no surprise to any of them, as his most recent plan has well since been exposed. "Thank you for attending this meeting," one of the Zenos says to him, finally breaking the thick silence and tension in the room. The other Zeno speaks next, saying that they've noticed the things Frieza's been up to recently. "We must warn you," he goes on, "it will be seen as a direct affront to the gods if you continue your quest for the Divine Blade," which seems to be the reason for Frieza's suspicious recent activities. "Oh, about that," Frieza goes on, "I'm afraid that I must confess to you that it's far too late," Frieza says, as within the blink of an eye, the Omni King's throat is slashed with an unfamiliar weapon. "My strategy paid off quite nicely," Frieza says. "I spread the word myself that I was looking for that blade, when unbeknownst to everyone, I already had it in my possession," he says, revealing the coveted weapon that somehow just single-handedly assassinated one of the Omni Kings in a flash. "All I had to do," Frieza goes on, "was find this sanctuary, so thank you so much for the formal invite." Angered at Frieza's disobedience and audacity, the remaining Omni King declares that his existence shall end here and now, as he snaps his fingers looking to erase Frieza from reality once and for all. "What? No!" Frieza shrieks, but this weapon seems to have fully prepared him for battle with the gods, as he uses an after image sort of technique to escape erasure, laughing at Zeno, asking why gods always seem to leave weapons around that can easily destroy them. The Divine Blade in Frieza's possession right now is a highly mysterious weapon that was created by the very first angel, who stood at the side of Zeno as his supreme advisor to the Omni King. Opposing a decision made by the Omni King, this original angel was supposed to be disposed of by Zeno, but still having sympathy for his angel, decided not to kill him and to instead send him to the lower realm to live out his days as a mortal. His name was Leon for short, and knowing the secrets of the gods' magic and powers that expanded beyond what would ever be revealed today, Leon decided to forge a blade specifically designed to kill divine beings, as well as creating a protective aura around the user of the blade. No longer allowed to interact with the gods, Leon hid the blade in a hidden sanctuary on a faraway distant planet, all while leaving hidden signs all over the galaxy in hopes that one day, another brave individual would find it and hopefully defy the gods in its place. That day seems to finally be upon us, as to the horror of all of us. According to the properties of this weapon, Frieza is now unstoppable, as we see him transform into his golden state, as well as being surrounded by the blade's protective barrier. And the last thing we see before the scene cuts to black is an invincible Frieza charging the Grand Priest and the Omni King. The following day looks just as any other on Earth, as Goku and Vegeta are seen just above Capsule Corp having their usual daily sparring session. All of a sudden, Whis and Beerus appear before them with the utmost urgency. "Hey, can you two stop fighting for 5 minutes?" Beerus screams, as the two Saiyans finally take notice of the gods down below. "Something terrible and most concerning has happened," Whis goes on to explain as a somber tone emerges. Frieza has managed to eliminate both Zenos and the Grand Priest. We still don't know how he was able to do so, however, so we've come to request your help to devise a plan to stop him, since you two know him so well. This might come as a surprise to some that Whis and Beerus are coming to Goku and Vegeta for help, but if Frieza has found a way to take out not only the Grand Priest but both Omni Kings as well, whatever he has up his sleeve is clearly effective against their kind, so the only answer may be Goku and Vegeta. Huge brain thinking by Whis if you ask me. "Kakarot, this is all your fault," Vegeta says angrily, bringing up a pretty solid point in saying that Goku is the one that wanted to bring Frieza back to life in the first place. Luckily for them, however, quick thinking by Bulma allowed them to come up with a plan of using the Dragon Balls so that Beerus and the others could go back in time just before these events took place, with oversight by Whis. A simple application of pressure in the face of a dire situation by Beerus was enough to sway Shenron to grant this taboo wish by going back in time one full day. Time was ticking and they needed to move fast before Frieza made his move, so Whis assists Goku and Vegeta in finding Zeno's palace using Frieza's aura to track it. All at once, they place their hands on Goku, not even knowing what type of mysteriously powerful force they're up against. But here goes nothing, Goku says as they teleport away to an unknown corner of the God Realm. They arrive just in time as Frieza kneels before the Omni King waiting to make his move. All of a sudden, they all take notice of the intrusion as Frieza whips his head around in shock, with Zeno demanding to know what they're doing here without permission, or with no hesitation. And before he can be interrupted, Frieza slashes the neck of one of the Omni Kings. "That's the Divine Blade," Whis explains. "It protects him from all magic, meaning that the power of the gods is useless against him while he wields it." "Goku, Vegeta, now!" he yells, as the two Saiyans transform into Super Saiyan Blue immediately and instantly appear on either side of Frieza, restraining him momentarily. What are you doing? Get off of me!" he yells as Goku disarms him. "Your insurrection ends here and now, Frieza," Beerus says with a stern voice as he appears in front of them and sticks his hand out to Frieza. And with the power of destruction, one simple Hakai, Frieza is utterly reduced to nothing and completely erased. While things certainly could have been worse, the murder of a god is not to be taken lightly, and the loss of one of the Omni Kings will indeed hold consequences, although Frieza has already been dealt with. Later on after the battle, a meeting is held between all parties involved as Zeno speaks first by thanking them for their intervention, as Whis had explained the situation to him. However, the offenses that they've committed at this point are far too excessive and can no longer be ignored. Offenses that have had several irreversible effects on the universe. The manipulation of time, unauthorized entry in the Celestial Palace, the list goes on, the Grand Priest says. And for these very reasons, Zeno continues, we must take action. Your constant contact with the gods has caused multiple disturbances, and therefore, you are forbidden to ever interact with us again. And as further punishment, we will cancel all recent wishes made with the Dragon Balls. No! Zeno, wait! Goku shouts. Please, you can't do this. Besides, you're going to change the entire course of history. It's way worse than a time traveler too, right? But Vegeta tells him to shut up before he makes it even worse. The decision has been made, mortals, the Grand Priest announces. This is a decree and is irrevocable, as he lifts his staff, and upon doing so, many wishes were undone, such as the Super Saiyan God explanation by Shenron, and Pilaf and his crew growing much older. As we cut back to the Omni King and the Grand Priest, who now reside in the palace alone after exiling Goku and Vegeta forever, the Omni King calls for a complete revolution of the God Realm and how they operate. The gods of destructions have all been consumed by vice, he says, and no longer represent what they were meant for. We will find a powerful and pure-hearted warrior to replace them. Gather all of the angels of the 12 universes, he goes on. And also, would it be possible to create a curse around those Dragon Balls? Their use has become much too problematic and recurrent. Unfortunately, the Grand Priest says, I can't remove them completely, but what I can do is make sure that they're charged with evil energy every time they're used. The resulting disaster should make them rethink their use, as the story ends on an extremely thought-provoking dialogue. Because of their constant contact with the God Realm, Goku and Vegeta were single-handedly responsible for not only losing their God powers and any knowledge they ever had of it, but the corruption of the Dragon Balls and the creation of the Shadow Dragons. And this has been an extremely creative way, I feel, to how the start of Dragon Ball GT could and should have been.